Hey everybody, Breakthrough Health and Life Coach Glenn Hattem here. I'm here with the 1% podcast and Dave Martin of a unique business model that is spreading by storm because there's a lot of folks out there needing to do some healing work, needing to give some attention in a realistic fashion in the busy craziness of life. You know, you got time to slip into the gym and get a workout in. Maybe you don't have time to even dip in the pool these days. But this is probably the place that you could find time to dip in, find a window, and get it scheduled on a regular basis to stay ahead of the curve. I'm turning 50 here soon, and it's really, really important for all of us to stay more proactive. So as we get older, but if only we could get those young bucks to get on board. I think this conversation might help those folks too. But maybe share a little bit today about your operation and why this mission's so important to you. It's probably a good place to start, and then I'll be throwing some deeper questions in as we go.
All right. Well, hey, Glenn, thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate you taking the time to learn about Light Lounge. Hi, everyone. My name is David Martin. I'm the founder and the CEO of Light Lounge, lightlounge.life. We are a medical grade light therapy solution. And it's been quite a journey, Glenn, for me. I'm 59 years old, so I'm going to approach 60 here soon. But
holy smokes.
When I was 46, I was training for an Ironman out in Los Angeles, and my lung collapsed, and they found a tumor in my chest. The good news was for 2.5 weeks, I didn't know if it was cancer, but that's kind of the bad news. But the good news was it turned out to not be cancer, but we had to remove it from my chest. And so I underwent about a 14-hour surgery to remove the tumor, and I also lost my 9th rib in the process. And there's a lot of side effects from taking a rib out of a human body, and one of them is called hyperdiaphragm, which I was single at the time, and I met my wife 3 months after that, and I was still kind of panting because when they take the rib off the diaphragm, you can tend to, the diaphragm kind of vibrates all the time, and it was kind of, it's not really cool for meeting young ladies. Let me tell you.
I'm picturing like, wait, you're an Ironman guy, and you want me to take it easy on you tonight? So.
Right. So what I found out when I came out of the surgery was I was allergic to opioids, but that turns out to be a really good thing because of all the problems we've had with opioids.
Yep.
And a dear friend of mine said, he goes, I know this girl, she has a laser. She's going to place this laser on your body and your pain's going to go away. And the first thought that everybody has when they think about light is they really don't know how powerful it is. And I was definitely in that boat. I was like, I'm in so much pain, bring it on. Right. And so this really, really nice Asian girl came over and put this laser on my body, and I could feel a reduction in pain. Now, not all my pain was gone. It took weeks of treatments for it to go away, but it went away with light. And that was kind of intriguing to me initially. I couldn't, Glenn, I couldn't understand why, if this was such a good pain reducer. And of course, I started looking into it. It does over 200 things great for the body, this light does. And, why weren't we using it? And there's a merriment of reasons, but primarily it's our healthcare system. It's more of a disease care mechanism. It's not a healthcare mechanism, as you and I know. Again, nothing wrong with our frontline men and women, doctors and nurses. They're amazing people, and they save lives every day. But it just astounded me. And so my journey started almost 13 years ago with this. And my wife and I started to train for ultra marathons, 50 and 100-mile races together. And we ran all over the world. And it intrigued me even more because this light was really good at helping you recover faster. So I started working with James Carroll. James is an awesome dude. He owns the company Novathor and Thor Laser. A great guy, awesome dude, and he created the first whole body light pod. James is very well known for dosage, so I learned a lot from James early on, and started to take this light therapy all over the country. And Glenn, I didn't know too many people, so what I did was I had a 53-foot trailer, so I conveniently parked it in front of different people that I wanted to meet. So that's how.
For shock there, because they're used to probably seeing something like, one of one of these guys, your little laser deal.
Right. And so this is a giant, 2-room studio. And so that's how I met, top athletes, and how I got in at Duke University and USC. And what I found out was that the light, we put over 2,500 people through this light therapy, and we found out a lot of things consumers would share with us. But what I did find out was it really worked on everybody. And after 6,000 human studies, this light, and the name of the light is photobiomodulation. So I'm sure that if you guys want to Google photobiomodulation clinical research, inflammatic disease of your choice, you're going to see that there is a lot of clinical research around it. So when I started Light Lounge, I had a lot of good marketing information and consumer information. And Glenn, you know this because you work with people every day. If you want to be great at a consumer product, or have a storefront, or have a gym, you have to listen to your customers. And I was really blessed because my father actually created the laser that reads barcoding. And so I have an inventor on one side of my family, and I had this awesome mother who was just great with people. So the combination of both, I have to say, I think really, really helped me. But I noticed that there was a big gap in light therapy. And what I mean by that was these light therapy pods are super expensive. I mean, ours retails for $140,000, and you got to have 3 or 4 of them in a studio. So how are you going to make that affordable? Well, I took one from you, Glenn. I created like a gym membership model, and that's what we did with Light Lounge. And I found out too that a lot of the manufacturers wouldn't work with me because I wanted to create a franchise. I wanted to create a brand around this. And we started getting some of the biggest athletes in the world using this technology. And I really felt like we had something. I've also been really blessed to be around people that are amazing, like great electronic engineers and great mechanical engineers. And we put the LightPod L3 together during COVID, which was not easy. But now the LightPod L3 has 3 patents pending. It's listed with the FDA, and it has the best irradiance of any pod in the world. So that's kind of a brief overview of where I've come from.
Yeah, and there's got to be so many hurdles for a lot of the mainstream folks that they're used to me. I go into a sauna and I get this immediate expression of like, clearly this is working, and there's an obvious, even before even going into the thing, you're going in there to sweat. And so what do you find is often a hurdle for new folks trying to ponder this? Kind of seems like maybe a little woo for folks that don't understand. There's so much science behind it, and like I said, the elite athletes know to access these tools now because they're on top of the cutting edge. But for average folks, like, I'm just going to go jump in a one of those tanning beds, or I'm going to go to the sauna, or I'm going to do all these other things. Like, why would you not do this? Well, what's that knot that's keeping people tied from making the introductory step?
Sure. So when we opened our first studio, I thought for sure it was going to be really difficult to get people to come in and try this, because our pods look like tanning beds, and everybody knows that tanning causes cancer. So this prevents cancer because it lowers inflammation in the human body and produces more ATP in the mitochondria. So you're thinking, how am I going to get that across? Does everybody remember 11th grade when we learned about the mitochondria?
Right.
And, I thought early on this was going to be a challenge. But you know what, Glenn? People use this thing called Google. They use it. And so one of the things that we have in our studios is that we meet you where you are. We know that there's great skepticism. I mean, dude, it took me 7 years to open my first studio because I wanted to make sure I talked to all the clinical researchers. I talked to some of the, the best people in the world. I worked with James and some of the best people in the world on, dosage and to understand the technology. And I still wasn't overly convinced that this could be brought to the consumer market. But because people use Google, they use it. So when somebody comes in one of our studios, we give away a free session, right? So that's the beautiful thing. You can come in at no cost, get a free session, and we can answer questions. But there's one thing that we don't do. And we kind of make a joke about it. There was a Brad Pitt movie called Fight Club, right? We don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about Light Club. And the reason that we don't is because there's ethics involved. Glenn, if you come in and I say, Glenn, tomorrow you're going to lift the biggest bench press of your life. You're going to be super strong.
Sign me up.
Yeah, right. 50, right? Exactly. 50% of people that you put that in their mind, that's the placebo effect, right? Yeah. And there's a book all about it, will actually feel that way. So one of the things that we don't
journeys and someone tells you you're going to see elves. So
yeah, right. Yeah. So one of the things that we don't do is we don't tell you how you're going to feel. We'll talk about the technology. We'll talk about why the mitochondria is photosensitive. We're happy to talk about the history of the science behind it. But we just want you to come in and tell us what you liked most about your session. And we've built a really great, strong business, by honoring our customers where they stand. And I'll be truthful. I've had people come in that after, we introduce it to them, they go, I don't want to get in. And we're like, okay, is there a reason why? I just don't believe it. I don't think that you can shine light on somebody and it will change them. And of course, I can say everything at this point. I can say, well, do you believe in photosynthesis? I mean, if we didn't have photosynthesis, we wouldn't be alive, right? Plants wouldn't grow, things wouldn't happen. But we don't do that. What we try to tell people is this is like photosynthesis for the human body. But if you don't want to get in, it's okay. Come visit our studios and learn about it. We can understand that people have to come to this on their own accord. But, Glenn, you and I have talked about this offline, and we know that the 7 reasons that we age all has to do with the mitochondria. The mitochondria is involved in a lot of other organelles within the human body. And so, we know that this is an element to it. We also know that anti-aging or slowing aging or regressing aging is way too expensive, but this is the beginning of what we will see is going to be an onslaught, with AI and everything coming out. We're going to be able to bring all these different silos of the human body into a computer. And I think it's over the next 10 years, Light Lounge has a tremendous amount of new technology that's going to be coming out, but it's exciting.
It's exciting, and it's individual. As you were saying, like everything is individual. So I've heard people rave about float tanks, and I got into a couple of float tanks, and I was like, I thought this was going to be my best meditation, and and be it just for me. It just didn't. I tried it a few times. It clicked. The couple times I did it, I got too much of the solution in my ear, and like I had to do like white vinegar or something to get it out, and I just was like, I don't want to do that right now. And people try different things. Some people like dry sauna, some people like, steam rooms, some people like the tanning beds, helps them with depression during the winter time. And so we're all individually trying to listen to our own intelligence, our wisdom of like what's wanting to happen right now. Maybe, who knows, maybe, a year from now, someone could convince me again, and I do the float tank. I'm like, the 5th time was the charm, or so that's,
well, it's good too. It's good too that you are the kind of person, you're like me, you're very curious, right? Mm-hmm. You're very curious to learn. And my biggest suggestion to your listeners and to anybody that might hear this is be curious and try it for yourself. Now, the one thing about our light is you may or may not feel it the first time. And that's totally normal. I felt it the first time I ever got it. And when I got in the whole body pod, I mean, I felt like I could run through a brick wall, right? It was like, it turned everything on inside my body. I felt that way, but not everybody feels that way. And also, my wife, and I always say this in interviews, because my wife is a fitness like maniac. I mean, she eats clean, she does everything. And she goes, honey, I don't want to upset you, but every time I get in that thing, I don't really feel any kind of a difference. And I said, well, why do you get in? And she says, the science, because I know it's helping me cellularly, and I know it's boosting my immune system, and I know that it's helping to lower my inflammation. So, but my wife is a rare bird, right? Like, most Americans want to feel something. That's when we have a headache, we want to take a pill and get rid of it.
And that's the thing. I think that's the thing that probably isn't addressed often. Obviously, we each have to be our own personal authority. But at the same time, when you eat your food, you're basically setting the environment, the stage for which the body's intelligence is going to take over. I'll take it from here, and work its magic. Same thing with sweating in a sauna or the food choices you're making. It's what is right for you that's being called forth from your own innate body intelligence. And really, there's so much more genius behind the scenes than you could ever imagine. You can't even scratch, a fragment of not even in the 1%. Like it's so far out of our view. But that's where science is very helpful, because we can trust the science of some things that are going on behind the scene that make this. Like, you and I aren't really knowing all the details of what's allowing us to be on a video call right now on a computer in different parts of the world communicating right now. We're just like, well, I somehow get the Zoom link to click over and that opens up. And I know some brilliant people put their stuff together, but there's so many hats thrown into everything. Why not try to cast the best ones? So like your wife, she goes, well, if I'm gonna do the working out part, I'm gonna do the eating part, and then I'm also gonna tap into some other sciences to help with all those other mysterious pieces, that somebody else, I can trust that intelligence because of my base foundation of my own authority.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest things is, like I said, be curious, and, come to one of our light lounges. It's free for you to come and try and learn what we're trying to do. I think that where we're going with Light Lounge is, and I think what makes us very unique is our whole body light pods have thousands of protocols that is steeped in all of this, medical, clinical research. And the other thing is, we're coining phrases called litraceuticals. Now, what's a litraceutical? Well, we literally have doctors that we will send the clinical research to. And let's say that they're working with somebody that has Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, MS. These are all inflammatory problems or depression, right? We probably have a litraceutical that could help you with that problem. However, that's when we get a doctor involved. So if you're healthy, you want to stay healthy, we've got healthy programs for people that are healthy. But when you have trouble, what makes Light Lounge so unique is that we are getting into the minutia. We can hone that light therapy solution specifically for your body. And that's exciting. But I think that the arc will definitely lead us into epigenetics. There's no doubt in my mind that in the next 10 years, you'll be able to come into Light Lounge. You'll put your finger on a little, dial, and we will map your human genome. We will find out, what potential diseases and problems you have. And through epigenetics, we will be able to slow or reverse those things, or, revert it altogether. And I just think the next 10 years, man, is going to be so exciting, not just in our business, but everyone in healthcare. And it's pretty exciting. But the other thing that makes me excited is that doctors are buying our franchise. And, Glenn, I told you before this, I was in the music business, and I have an international business degree from Indiana University, right? So like, to think that I am in a position where my entrepreneurialism, my ideas and concepts will be adopted by a medical doctor, it blows you away a little bit, and it really humbles you. But the thing that I bring to it is just my interaction with the customer, and able to ask these customers these great questions that gets the answers out, and we can manipulate the light so that they'll feel better. So it's a really exciting field. And I didn't share this yet, but at 59 years old, I have an 8-year-old little girl. So I was blessed to have her when I was 51 years old. And you start thinking about your own mortality, and you start thinking about, can I walk her down the aisle? I don't want to be walked down the aisle, because when she's 30, I'm 81 years old, and I want to be 81, but I want to feel 40 or 50. And I think it's definitely going to be possible. I think that what's coming down the road will blow our minds. Now, I don't know if people my age will necessarily live longer, but right now what we're focusing on in the industry is health span, not lifespan, but health span. In other words, at 81, could I still be running ultras? And could I be doing, having good times and enjoying my life? I don't know. But I'm not going to be the 81 that my parents were or my grandparents were. I can guarantee you that.
Right.
And that's exciting. And I know it's exciting for you too.
Yeah. So maybe sharing a little bit with the audience about kind of like your protocols for daily self-mastery practices. When you think about a day in the life of like, where it starts with self-care, being proactive, what are the different things? So I think just sharing a little bit about the ingredients that you're committed to, that work for you, and it's different for everybody, but just gives an idea of, like, a lot of people just kind of go out the door and sell their soul, to the company they work for, to have money, to blow their money on stupid shit, versus like yourself, myself. There are a lot of things that got to come first, when it comes to playing the long game of longevity versus, I think there's, I work with folks that have addictions, and they're often very much hooked on immediate stimuli versus, I try to dissuade that and move more towards like playing the long game. You play the long game, you're going to win the short games. And so what does that kind of look like? Just invite into,
at 59. So I was a distance runner in college, ran near a 4-minute mile. Wow. Never really had any knee injuries or any knee issues at all. And I was out hunting unicorns with my daughter and blew out my meniscus just stepping up on a rock. So it isn't always, you're doing something like football or some sort of contact sport that blows out your knee. It can be a simple maneuver. And the thing that ran through my head when I just stepped up on this rock and pop went my meniscus, the thing that I thought about was that probably didn't happen there. That happened over years of running down hills and running and doing all of this. And the inflammation built up over years of using my legs for running. And it wasn't that was the final straw. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? When I stepped up on that rock. And, our bodies and our aging is like that. So one of the reasons that I shared with you that I may not extend my life is because that knee happened from 20 years old to 60 years old. I believe it was just the stress and the gravity and the pull and the inflammation and all of that. But if I were getting in our light therapy at 20 or 30 years old, which we're seeing a lot more millennials looking at the science and coming in, that may have never happened. I may have never blown that meniscus out because I didn't get the inflammation required to break down the tissue and create the problem, right? I mean, these are my thoughts. I don't have any clinical evidence. These are just things that I think about. But my regiment, which you ask about, starts very early in the morning because I have to get my workout in. before the kids wake up, and I got to go get my light in. And
Okay,
so,
get up at 8 o'clock or 7
oh,
or
I wish, I wish. Typically my day starts at about 4:30 with AM with
You guys hear
meditation.
that? 4:30 a.m. So
Right
you
at
get up
4:30 a.m.
while the rest of the folks are don't want to get out of a warm bed. Don't get me wrong, your bed's probably warm, right? Like everybody
I
else's.
hope so.
But there's a mindset you go to bed with at night that's like, I'm not going to be controlled by my mood, my emotions, I don't wanna.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So for me, it starts at 4:30, and typically what I do, well, I use binaural beats to go to sleep to and listen to them all night through speakers beside my bed, because I love sound therapy. I was in the music industry. Sound relaxes me, and so I get up though, and I spend about 30 minutes in meditation. And for me, at 59 years old, building a multi-billion-dollar company, the thing that I want for my life is no drama, right? And I want focus and thought. And so for me, meditation, breathing early in the morning works really well to get me going. And then obviously I do my workouts, and it
Quick question
mostly.
for you. Just go back a little
Sure,
bit on meditation.
sure.
How well does your life work when you don't do that simple 30 minutes?
And I do it 30 minutes before I go to bed too. I can't miss it. Like, it has become like the most important thing in my life, because as I've aged, Glenn, I could take it when I was younger,
Right.
but I definitely see, it's difficult. It's difficult, to think about all the things you want to get done before, this life ends. And I think my anxiety levels, and all of us, I mean, we don't realize the effects of what COVID did to us, what economic conditions have done to us. And this meditation really helps. Yoga really helps, the stretching of the body. And just, that self-care early in the morning for me really works. Now, you don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, but it takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours to take care of myself. And then my kids wake up,
Yeah.
and then
I'm
it's got to
similar to
be.
you, and then I got to take that time
Yeah,
out to like I always tell my clients, I'm like, I got to work out hard, not for just me and how I look pretty in the mirror. I got to work out so that I'm able to be an overflowing cup of servitude. But if I don't fill
right.
myself, and I lean over, so I
Yeah,
always try to tell people, like, try to be like a chocolate fountain where you're just overflowing and people can come up and get a cup of that goodness. But if it takes me a while each morning, and even at nighttime, setting the stage for the next day to plant
right.
those seeds of possibilities amidst all the obstacles. But it's
Yeah,
amazing how that meditation creates a buffer between maybe your reactiveness to other people that have decided to go wildly into the world and with reckless abandon. And so it's a little bit way for you to walk softly, gentler, and more tender-hearted, more of a peaceful warrior with
yeah,
everything that's we're jumping into the quantum soup of the day of like what all the infinite possibilities. And
right.
have you kind of, we like to say mindset, like, have you
Totally.
wired yourself for the possibilities that you want?
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm with you. I haven't watched the mainstream media for 25 years. I do get news and information at sites that just give me the facts, and there's not a lot of drama involved, right? Because the mainstream media is trying to sell advertising. And the biggest thing that I can tell people is that that's the reason that we all slow down on the freeway when there's an accident, is because we're naturally drawn to the drama of a terrible accident. Okay. And that's what the media plays on every day. There has to be, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. We've all heard this stuff. And I think I was around 40 years old, and I said, and they always end with a puppy dog story. Because they want you to believe that they're not peddling danger and destruction, but they are. And we as a society are getting a lot smarter about this. And the biggest thing that I could stress at 59 years old to you and everyone else is turn away from this stuff. We have to put positive energy in our lives. We're talking about light. It's energy, right?
So what you're saying is no one's going to come to your outfit and have like Game of Thrones blasted while you're in there during your therapy, because you're not getting away with watching that crap and living vicariously through, I used to, at one point I was dating a gal, and it was always like, the romantic comedy or something where that guy makes me look like a bozo.
Rom-com, yeah.
Sleep at night, and then I watched The Sopranos, and then I'd go to sleep really well because somebody was out kicking ass, and but those things are so toxic for our systems. I mean, most people, their focal point in their living room is a giant TV, and
Yeah.
and which means you're giving your power away, you're giving your energetic vibration away, you're allowing yourself to be susceptible to things that really are getting in, are rewiring you, are impacting you. It's slow and sneaky, but they're counting on the news channels counting on the compounding effect. They're like, we'll have you hooked on this drug on a regular basis here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important to guard you, right? It was interesting after my surgery. Well, just before my big surgery, I wrote down things because, when you're going into a big surgery, you think about your mortality, and you have to sign documents that, this could be the last time you're alive. You don't know, right? And so I wasn't married at the time, and I wrote this, I guess you would call it a love letter to my future bride. And 3 months, this is energy, everybody. So I wrote this letter, exactly the woman that I wanted. 3 months later, she walked into my life, and my life completely changed because it started with my energy. And
Right.
so it's so important. So all of us have, people in our lives that can be a little overbearing and a little drama. And if you're trying to change yourself, if you're trying to get away from the addictive food cycle that we have in this country, then you don't want to hang out with people that eat pizza and fast food. You want to hang out with vegans and people that are going to eat healthy, and because you are the product of the top 5 people that you hang around with. I don't play golf well, Glenn, but I like to play golf. But you'll never see me play with really bad golfers. I always want to play with guys that are really good because
Use your game.
it pulls you up. And just like, I'm sure that you can lift more weight than me, but I would want to work out with Glenn because Glenn's going to push me. That's why you want Glenn.
Get stronger, work with Coach Glenn.
Yeah.
So how might this, with your energy, so you start off the day with meditation practice and waking up while it's dark out before the day really begins. You're going to have most of your deep work day done before everybody else begins, and you're summoning up a relationship with yourself and then with life, and then you bring that out to the fold with life, and then you go, okay, now I've got to move from this kind of energy to the workout energy next, right? So maybe share a little bit about how you
for me it alternates every day. My wife and I have been talking about, now that she's been through some surgeries, we're talking about possibly running and another 6 or 7 day stage race in the next couple of years, and we don't know which one yet. There's lots of cool races out there to challenge yourself mentally and physically, but I do weight training, and I do running intervals. I take my dogs for a walk. My routine, I get on a Peloton and spin or row, or and I really mix it up. And that's the beautiful thing about having somebody like you, Glenn, to help you, is because if you need, I think for me, I need variety in my workout. I may even go for a swim, and I am a bad swimmer, Glenn, let me tell you. So, but I need variety every day with my workouts, but I spend resistance trainings is always important, as you know, and especially more important as you age because of bone loss and muscle loss and all these things that go on with the aging process. It'll help with testosterone, you know that, by lifting. So I'll lift in the morning, and alternate my workouts. And then when I'm done with that, I typically go up to the light lounge and I get a session. I also do vibrational therapy at Light Lounge. We have vibroacoustical pods. And as you know, the frequencies are really important for your body. So if I'm really stressed out, we've got a frequency that'll bring down my level of anxiety. So I typically,
I hear,
and then
I hear you having
yeah,
a nice mix of the different flavors of how
yeah,
you approach self-care. It's not just one in the box thing. And I often, when I have clients come to me, my experience is there's different needs at different times that need
right,
attention. So I might have a young woman that comes to me that needs to be more aggressive and more assertive, but she wants to lose some weight and get in shape. So like kickboxing class is great. You punch, kick, you'll be 10,000 reps later, you're going to have some nice muscle tone and you're going to be a little more aggressive and assertive at work and in your new
right,
career. And then I might have someone that's in a place where they're just constantly putting out fires and problems, and they got to be able to problem solve real quick. I'm like, well, let's get into rock climbing. That's going to sculpt a really beautiful body. You're going to figure out how to get up this route here, and then you're going to be like, that's boring. Let's do the next challenge, and so that's that's another way. Or someone that needs to learn how to lead and read body language more than what everyone's saying. And so getting in a boat with 7 other rowers where everybody's oars have to get into the water in sync, and to be the fastest, lightest boat on the water. And so there's different activities from like you said, the rowing or the spin bike or the resistance training that if, that's obviously built up of years of building confidence and experiences. But now you're like a kid in a candy store and you're like, what's the toy? What's the thing today that's stimulating? And versus someone who's like, all I got is alcohol on Friday and pizza to deal with this stress and then create more problems for yourself.
It's interesting. I spoke to a gentleman, 68 years old today, and he said that in the last 3 years of his life, he lives in Los Angeles. At 65, he was an alcoholic, and he knew that he was on a path. And this is the interesting thing that I hope everybody gets from our call is the body is so resilient. So he has spent 3 years cleaning himself up, not just working out with a trainer, but physical therapy, body work with massage therapy to get these toxins out of their body. And he goes, man, I bet I spent $500,000, but he goes, today, he goes, I'm back. And he says, younger women are looking at me, and, I don't know what this guy looks like because I talked to him on the phone, but this is the cool thing. It's never too late to start taking care of yourself and giving yourself that self-love. And we've all heard it before. If we've read any kind of self-help book, you got to take care of you first before you can help other people. And that's why I get up really early, because I want to be great for my family. I don't want to be just halfway. So when my kids wake up, they get the best dad. And then when dad comes back from work, they get the best dad. Right. And it's been great for me to have a younger child because we put her to bed early. So I end up, at the end of the day, I end up doing, put her to bed at 7:30, and, I do my meditations and reading, and, by 9 o'clock, I'm in sleep. And it's, the one thing that I have really watched and I have in my glasses are the blue blockers. And I can't stress to, everybody enough is blocking out the light from our computers and our TV screens. Look, these things have been really cool. When I grew up, I remember at 5 years old when they landed on the moon and our TV screen was smaller than my laptop here. And I sat there and watched One Small Step for Man. And I thought it was the greatest advancement in human history. But what I've seen in my lifetime is just amazing. And exponentially, we are all going to see some amazing things. And I personally don't believe in the doom and destruction of life itself, because there's so many wonderful people on this planet that are doing good every day. We just don't hear about them. We only hear about the negative people, right? And so I believe that all this technology is going to better our world and better us as human beings. And that's probably the reason that I launched Light Lounge, just because in my own little special corner of the world, that I wanted to contribute to the health and happiness of this. And, it's interesting. You brought up a little bit earlier, and I want to expand on that. So in 2020, when we were all involved in this whole COVID thing, there were a lot of clinical research studies coming out. And of course, none of us were paying any attention to it because we were locked up in our houses, right? And one of the big clinical research studies is, we used to believe that depression was a chemical imbalance in the brain. And there was a 2,500 person over 15 years. And they now believe that it is mitochondrial dysfunction of the brain. And of course, our light treats mitochondria, puts it in line, helps with the respiration, gets it out of dysfunction. So I used to call, like, one of my slogans for Light Lounge, happy light, happy life, because everybody that gets into our light has hope and happiness, right? And I was like, there's got to be some sort of clinical, and this thing comes out, and it's validation. And for those that suffer from depression, listen, I had seasonal defective disorder. I had it. It went away getting into the light.
Wow.
But we have treated numerous people with depression, anxiety, and the light really helps your mitochondria to work better. And a lot of people don't know this, but Glenn, a third of our body, 1 trillion cells in our body are mitochondria. A third of our body weight is mitochondria. So this organelle is one of the most important organelles. And I'm really pleased that the team here at Light Lounge, and myself included, we're dedicated to making sure that people have the best light in the world. So it's just awesome. It's awesome because people who are
proving we're light beings, proving we're light beings.
Yeah. And people that are depressed, they when somebody tells you, Glenn, you got a chemical imbalance, I think that's hard to take as a human being, a chemical imbalance. But now we know that it's just the mitochondria misfiring, kind of like a bad spark plug in an engine. And we can fix it, and we can fix it naturally. And more psychiatrists and psychologists are coming to this light as an alternative, because there's no side effects and there's no drug interactions. So what we see is people that are on drugs and medication for their problems tend to lower their medications, and the body begins to heal itself. All of us have this amazing human body, and it's such a gift. We don't realize this. This is the coolest computer in the world, right? And it's the most amazing gift. And all of us that are listening, that are human beings, possess this amazing body. So for me, it's just this never-ending journey of learning and being inquisitive and curious about the human body. And I know you're the same way.
Yeah, and I love what you said. Just for the audience to keep it really simple here, it's like a third. Okay, is energy.
Crazy.
And if that's the case, then the list is long on it's going to help with sleep. It's going to help with depression. It's going to help with all these things here. They're out of whack. So it's not like it's going straight at these things. It's like, no, rebalancing you.
Yeah. And that's a good way to look
at tires. You do that with everything. Yeah. We do that with everything else externally.
Yeah.
And the payoff's only so many years out of those things, because we don't have that same car or those same tires. But what about this? You got this one vehicle. Are you optimally fueling it? Like, are you putting toxins in from people?
Right.
No, not so food, like non-food items, with a long chemical list. I think, what you shared is like, yeah, by getting up early and getting after things is like, I'm not reacting to the day. I'm getting ahead in the perspective I want to have for the day, the perspective I want to share with others.
Yeah.
And versus, everyone always says, well, how do you stop eating so much crap at night to get better results? I'm like, start your day right. The crap at the evening is because you effed up somewhere along that day line.
Right. And we always say, if your best meal should be then the biggest meal should be in the morning. And as you curve through the day, your meals should get smaller and smaller and smaller. And I mean, our Americans have got it messed up. We wait till dinner to have our biggest meal. And truthfully, it should be our smallest meal. And portion size, as you know, Glenn, is key to adjusting the body. Oh, and the other thing, because we've talked about this, the other thing this light really does, and for people like you, Glenn, that help people get back in shape. So I'm on this journey now to get my body back in shape for running. Well, the cool thing is I can move back into running easily and not be sore because I'm using the light. So as you know, every time we work out, we tear, there's little tears in our muscles, and that creates soreness. Well, the light helps you recover 80% faster. So those day 2 soreness and day 3 sorenesses, they go away when you use the light. And for me, that's the reason that I love personal trainers and people like you, Glenn, because this is just the magic elixir for your business, because it can help those people that are like, oh, the last time I worked out, I hit my lactic threshold and I couldn't sit down on the toilet the next morning. It hurt so bad, and a lot of that can go away. And of course, that's the reason that you use somebody. Don't just go to a gym. Use somebody like Glenn to help you get started with your training, because if you go to the gym and you just start working out, you're gonna burn through your lactic threshold. You're gonna be really sore, and it's just not the way to go about it. So if you're getting sore, number one, use the light, and number two, definitely get a personal trainer, because they will make sure that they ramp you in a way that you won't get sore and you won't get injured. And
Well,
that's what I
basically
love
what you're saying here right now is you want to see about, going in and having your first experience after a good leg workout. So
yeah, right.
First leg workout, head over.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, I don't know if you love legs. I've never loved working out my big muscles, right? But yeah, I mean, the light makes me feel young again, and I can take the workouts. I can't say, Glenn, that I love weightlifting, but that resistance training, it is such a necessity as we age. And you've got to, if you want great longevity, you need to keep that resistance training going.
Well, I mean, I think, we've got a lot of areas we could probably go down this line for
We can
quite
go for 2 hours.
Yeah, easily. And I started off as a fitness, nutrition, lifestyle expert, working with a lot of famous celebrities and corporate execs and SWAT and elite level in all areas of life. And my business evolved to more life coaching work and running a team of life coaches. So I have business coaches, health coaches, relationship coaches, and I have a new book that just came out, Amplify. I don't know if you can see that with my back.
Oh no, I gotta get a copy. Where is
Yeah,
it?
get a copy there. Amplify just came out. Get a first book actually on Amazon. I've written a number of other books, but this is a workbook to help people get unstuck, get empowered, and transform their business, their health, their relationships, so they can live more purposeful and fulfilling lives. And one of the key pieces foundationally is you've got to, one of my mentors talks about is body rapport. You've got to build a healthy relationship with this vehicle. You've got this one vehicle to carry you through this. You're this light, soulful being carried in this vehicle here. And what ingredients are you giving it? Not because we're eating food, we're eating that energy. Okay, so it's really important to consider what can you be on top of on your own, and where are the other resources outside yourself. We were talking earlier about things like hyperbaric chambers, and there's so many different things, so many different tools that are available. but you got to take the time to be curious and find out
Yep.
which ones are gonna match you. You can have all these ideals in your head, but go get your
Yeah.
feet wet and just see what happens and see what unfolds for you. Don't worry about all the rest. Just I got into rock climbing. I climbed Devil's Tower here, the famous Close Encounter rock. I'm not a rock climber, and I remember being up on the rock with one of my guides, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And I'm like, there's this one place way out here far I can get to. And it's like, well, just do that one. I'm like, well, I'm gonna do that one, then I'm gonna fall. It's like, just go for it, and it'll reveal the next move. And I think we can all go through life, like we all have to set goals and have desirable outcomes, but sometimes we have to, I like to reverse engineer things and work things back off our ideals. But at some point we cast that out there, just like if you're fishing and you cast it out there and see what bites. Well, we've got to focus on the next steps. We got to come back down to the present moment, what needs to happen, what's unfolding right now. Get out of your head. So what happens is, for a lot of us, we get stuck in this dialogue in the interior right here, and it's helping us miss the moment. Imagine you with your daughter and you're like not there, and you're missing a really important moment because you're thinking about, I got this business transaction later to take care of. We've just all got to remember to keep bringing ourselves back to this moment. And in this moment here, I'd love for you to just share with the audience how you guys are in, you got 5 locations open right now. You've got
so we have Arvada, Littleton, Evergreen, and Denver will be opening in June. That's at 9th in Colorado. We hope to get Boulder back open. We had a dentist that was above us that had a fire, but that should be opening. We have one in Lehi, Utah. We're opening. That's opened. And we're opening one in Dallas, Fort Worth in about 3 months. And then this fall, we're opening in Scottsdale. We've got another one opening in St. Louis this fall. So you're going to see lots of light lounges coming out there. We hope to have them in airports all over the country because it's phenomenal for travel fatigue. And I have a lot of pilots that use it. So we're just a brand new franchise. We've sold about 25 units. And, we hope that they will be on every street corner, because taking care of our mitochondria is a big cellular solution that we should all be doing. And, but it's just been great, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, loved having you as a guest. I guess, could you leave our audience with your vision of what you hope to see in the world as it transpires in the next decade with these possibilities? What are you seeing? What's being called forth through you?
So our mission is to help people live longer, happier lives free from pain and disease. And I do believe that I will be alive long enough to see a lot of these major diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, they're going to go away. We're going to crack the code, and we are going to figure out exactly how our bodies are the most optimal. I think right now, if you were to try to do it, it would cost you $2 million a year to do everything that you needed to do to slow aging and keep your body, but in a perfect state, right? But I think over the course of the next 10 years, with the use of AI and bringing these different, silos together, all of these different specialties, all this knowledge together, and be able to compute that with a computer that can think a lot faster than you and I think you're going to see some major advancements in healthcare. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here. There's an awful lot of us out here like you, Glenn, and all your listeners that are super creative, caring people. And I think it's exponentially going to create a lot of goodness in this world. So that's my hope.
I'm here. You heard it here first. Steve Jobs, he's gonna pull out of his pocket, just like all your music in a pocket. He's like, it used to be $1 million to do this. Now on your phone, everybody's got access to these tools and these resources at an affordable price, and as a given, as your personal responsibility in this world. So we're not, impacting this whole medical bill. For actually, all of us are contributors to, like, I've got to take personal responsibility for my well-being. I mean, I'm not coming over there to floss your teeth, like, we've all got to do our part. Your youngster is
Yep.
going places we can't even imagine, like, like the book, The Prophet, you're the bow, and that arrow's going, probably going to hit Mars when it's been turned into a, beautiful plant
Who
life.
knows? Yeah, who knows what's gonna transpire, but it's a beautiful time to be alive. We're on the cusp of really amazing things. And just think what we've seen in our lifetime, Glenn, and then exponentially 100x it, because I think that's what we're going to see in the course of the next 50 years. It's going to be amazing. And I'm not a doomsayer. I'm one of those people that believe in the goodness of life. Sure, there's going to be these anomalies where people use things, inefficiently, but there's such a small group of horrible people, and there's so many great people in this world. And that's what we have to focus on. We have to change our mindset, not only get aware about what our body needs, but then if our bodies are great and we're casting out that goodness, we're going to overwhelm the badness in this world. And I really do believe it. And I mean, we're seeing this a lot in the tech world. We're seeing a lot of tech people coming forward and saying, okay, how are we going to control this? And they've got phenomenal ideas. So we're great human beings. There's amazing human beings out there working on every known problem. And that's the beautiful thing about being alive right now. There's so many creative people.
Well, I'm gonna wrap up today's call listening to everything that you've shared today. But a theme kind of crosses my mind here. Kind of like when I saw the movie Inconvenient Truth, and I was like, well, what can I do after this movie? Can I recycle? What should I do? What's my part? And the three words that come to mind from this conversation, and I'll say goodbye to the audience after that, is just be curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll see you guys.